All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at Art Battle Sydney. We are in Sydney, Australia tonight, this morning, depending on where you are. And we have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight, including live commentary. We've got Art Battle artist Rocket Child and Oslam, who are recent Art Battle Sydney competitors who have come back to join us to help interpret and understand and talk and do commentary for this tonight's battle. Hello, Rocket Child and Oslam.
Hey, thanks for
Hi.
having me.
Great to have you both. I see we're about to get underway, so we're going to let Luke and the team there do the introduction, and then you guys take it away.
We're going to kick that off.
Oh,
After
uh,
they touch the 20-minute mark, they can't touch the canvas anymore at all. All right, that's how it works. On the floor here, because you're going to want to come and
Right,
see
so
how guys
we're
do
going to
their thing.
start
If
very
you go down
soon.
and take a little bit of a
so
box
right
next
now,
to it,
Luke's
follow
just
the
going
arrow
over the
around.
rules
The
of
ink keeps
how
moving
Art
when you're
Battle
supposed to be on
works.
the canvas.
So we
That
got
was
two
the
rounds of artists, and they're
Okay,
painting
if
for
you
about
haven't
20
already,
minutes
you
each.
can vote and you can
And
give
so
like scanning that
everyone's
QR
just
code in
waiting
Tetris.
as he
And if you
goes
haven't done
through
it
and
already, go through that
introduces
because we're going to be filling you in with all the
the.
details
I
of
think we're
the
Uh,
going to be in for a really good night because I've actually been through the profile of all these artists and they look amazing. So I think we're going to be in for a really exciting battle.
yeah, and I'm not sure about you, Osborne, but like when I started, I felt like I was really confident, but as soon as you stand right in front of the easel, suddenly your mind goes blank and you're just in competitive mode. So, um,
Yeah.
whatever you
The
prepared
first time I
sometimes
got,
just goes out the window.
yeah, the first time that, oh, here we go, we're starting.
Yep, there we go. And we're starting now. So, as you can see, each of the artists, they have either paint provided by them or they bring their own. And so, right now, we've got a really fast start by, looks as though we have Michael. From his profile, he seems to do a lot of people and characters. But right now, he's just going in with his palette knife and a sponge and he's just blocking in color. So I think that's a pretty good technique considering how we have a time limit. So just getting paint on the canvas is a pretty
Yeah.
smart move.
Did you find it really hard when you did it to pretty much put down a background? Like as if like that kind of takes the most time sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I had a big brush. I just like splotched on color straight away to just fill up the
Yeah,
spaces, and then afterwards started shaping. How about you?
yeah,
Because you do like finger painting.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, like finger painting. Yeah, pretty much. So when I do the backgrounds, I just pretty much pour the paint on there and more trying to concentrate on what my aim is. This one looks
yeah.
really cute.
So this one's Rosa, and so she has like really cute watercolor character designs in her profile. So right now, uh, it looks as though she's continuing her style with having like a cute little character. And so she
Yeah,
seems to be really clean in her application and like blocking in the shapes exactly how she wants it. And even
it's a
like,
big transition from painting from watercolor to acrylic as well.
yeah, true. It's like the opposite. Like you can start really soft as a watercolor artist. So
Yeah,
here we have Laura, and it looks as though you can't even really see what she's doing quite yet. She's sketched on with white pencil from the looks of it, so she's put in her outline to start coloring in. So she looks to be prepared. She might have a reference picture on her phone or something like that. I also had a reference design when I went in um, for my round as well, because I find you don't have to think. You just you've done all your thinking beforehand. Sometimes it
yeah,
saves time.
yeah. I went in with a reference photo and then ended up going with the vibe, just putting
Yeah,
the reference photo down. So sometimes I think it's the music that influences you as well, and the crowd that's around you, and the
mm,
energy that's around you as well, that influences what you're doing as well.
yeah, definitely. In a way, like I guess as you say, it could give you a starting point if you're not sure where to start. Then afterwards, you go for it. So now we're
Yeah, I
on
was
the
in the
other side.
last round as well. So I was in the first one and then the second round as well.
Oh,
Um,
nice. You made it
I
far.
was, yeah, so I was the winner of the first one, and then I went back to claim my title in the second, which didn't happen. But the second one, there was no reference, no nothing, just went in there blank and went for it.
Awesome. And here we have
We have some nice neutral colours in this
Svetlana.
one.
Yeah, she's quite fast. She's blocked in her shapes and like her background, and she's going for it. And from the looks of it, she's doing as you've described, just feeling the vibe. She's put down whatever
Yeah,
reference she might have been using.
yeah, that's right. She's just going for it.
And for the viewers, you know, you have a few limited supplies provided, but some of the artists are bringing their own brushes and tools. So as you can see here, we've got Nikita. She's got a huge brush, so it's making it easier for her to get those big strokes of color.
Yeah, when you've got that limited time as well, you've got to think about the tools that you're using.
Definitely. Because I think tools you might use normally on a daily basis, you might prefer a small brush, but just because of the time limit, you have to do something a bit different to adapt to the situation.
Yeah, it's a bit hard as well because you get thrown into this and then you only just realize what you should have done different just because there's so much pressure on you to actually get something up in that time.
Yeah, exactly. Here we have Renat. It looks as though he's going for the silhouette shapes, which is quite clever. He's blocked in using his dark colors and is revealing the shapes. So he's using his time really smartly here.
Yeah.
He's got 5 minutes in and he's already covered the whole canvas, so it means now he has the rest of the time to start shaping. But again, as you were saying, like the pressure shapes how you perform and how you paint. You suddenly have to think and adapt to your
Especially when
environment.
when we're as artists, like we're so used to being in our own space, in our own little safe spot, and then you have all these people around you and all these thoughts go through your head. What are they judging me on? What are they looking at? Am I doing okay? And that just adds to the pressure even more.
And I guess what you might not realize is this room is quite squishy. All the participants have to walk around in this very limited pathway. So you have to get into the zone and not let other people break your concentration. And so really focusing on your artwork. So here we can see Michael's paintings really evolved since before, where he just splotched on his brown colors with his palette knife. Suddenly he's starting to shape
he's actually put that pretty fast.
So we've got a few different techniques showing up, ones that are starting up broad and then refining afterwards, and then some artists who are starting off at the very beginning with their refining techniques. Over here.
This is actually, the last battle that I was in as well. There was another artist that actually had a hairdryer as well, but that's a really good idea. Especially if you layer one on top of another.
Yeah. Well, I find acrylic paints dry really quickly, but perhaps maybe some of them might be using oil. It's hard to say if they using different, bringing their own paints. But yeah, as you said, there's different techniques. I think in the same round as me, there was someone who was using like a plastic bag to stamp on design.
Yeah, we were in the same one. Yeah, it's interesting to watch how other people, their techniques and all these different things that you never thought of doing as well. I love her clean lines.
Yeah,
it's just so neat.
row C, and she's like so relaxed, even in the time limit. It's just,
Yeah,
uh,
this is amazing. The fact that she's got that much detail in that horse in such a little amount of time is amazing.
yeah. So this is Laura, everyone, and again, um, she's quite focused. She has her reference, and I guess exactly as you said, being able to get that much detail so early in the game. So at 8 minutes, so we have about 12 minutes left. So this is just how fast it is, the competition. As you were saying before, when you're in your room, you could take as much time as you need. Sometimes I take 16 hours for an artwork, and here we are with like a
Yeah,
20-minute limit.
yeah, and it's also when you are in your own space, if you make a mistake, then it's just you that goes over that mistake, and no one sees it, and then you complete the artwork and it's done. When you're here and you make a mistake,
Hmm.
trying to fix that in front of everyone kind of hits your nerves a little bit, and you try and go with the flow and not make it too sus.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like when you're on your own, you can always fix your own mistakes. You have the time. But here, you've either waste time fixing a mistake or you just gotta run with it.
Yeah,
And so here we've
so I
got
see a wedding
some nice
thing
detail
going.
work. Sorry, what were you saying?
I can see a little wedding theme going on there with the little the arch.
Oh, yeah. So this here is Svetlana with her little dog wedding. And here we have Nikita with her colorful bird. And so that really soft blue background is really helping the red pop out. Made some nice choices.
Yeah, the color choice is really nice on this.
So
And
we've
she's
reached
just
the halftime.
really softly. It's really hard to get details of feathers when you're doing birds and stuff as well.
That's true.
That in itself, that's a talent. Just trying to get the look of that light feather.
Well, what I found interesting when we were competing is just getting that perfect shade or the hues right. You might
Yeah,
say you want a light blue, but you try to find that perfect light blue. And it's really quite difficult when you're in that space because if you use up your whole palette, as you can see there,
yeah,
it, you don't have space to mix up new
yeah.
colors. You really have to adapt.
That was kind of the one mistake that I made in the very first round that I competed. That I used up all the space in the palette and didn't give it a second thought that I might need another color. So I kind of just had to go with it. So
So here
it
we
is
have.
kind of just
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just noticing that Renat, he's now switched to pencil, so he's blocked in his main shapes using his paintbrush, and as you noted before, using the hairdryer to just dry off the paints, and now he's just adding details using his pencils, and you can see the shapes emerging.
as an artist, it's really important to know what you need for your style. So he knew that that needed to be completely dry to move forward with his own technique. So it's good to know what you need for yourself. Even though this is your style and you're in that 20 minutes, you really need to be like, okay, how am I going to dry this?
Mm. In a certain way, there's a curation, like what to bring in your bag when you're coming out to Sydney for the art battle, because you can't bring everything, but what's the most important thing? So
Yeah.
exactly as you're saying, choosing the tools for your style. So now we're
What I
back
really
in.
love, the interesting thing, is how everyone has a whole different style. There is
Mm,
like all these artists, they all have different styles.
mm, exactly.
So
Like
there's
I feel
nothing
as
that's really
though,
the same.
yeah, exactly. I feel as though it's so difficult to judge because you're not really on the same page on who can do a straight line, who can do a curvy line. It's really up to audience participation on just what they resonate with. And so again, like you see everyone walking around and watching the artists paint live, they also have access on their phones to be able to vote and to bid and on the paintings that they like to actually buy. So really, this huge crowd is giving energy. You can feel all the audience just participating with the art making going on.
Yeah, so all these artworks are up for sale, and you can bid on them online. You can go onto the art battle and you can bid on each of these, so you can own one of these.
Yeah. So for anyone who's watching online, if you type in the hyperlink that's on screen, you're able to participate in the auction as well and the voting that happens after each round. So we now have 5 minutes left. So it looks as though we have Rosie. She's now adding in her details, adding in line art. I gotta say, line art is really difficult to get done in a very limited time. You need precision to get your hands steady to do it. So it's a great skill. And here we
This
have
is
Laura.
This is easy. To be
She
able
also
to get
has
that
a really delicate
proportion,
hand.
yeah.
You're saying to get the proportions of the horse?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. To get that proportion in that amount of time, when normally you have all this time to sketch up and measure, and just to be able to just put that, the horse. I don't know about yourself, but with me, I find it really difficult to get proportions of animals such as horses that have such a detail, and just one little, either shorter or longer, just makes it look completely different. And to be able to do that in a short amount of time, it's really amazing.
Definitely. It takes a lot of practice to get, as you say, the proportions right, because she didn't put, she had to freehand it essentially to reach the time limit. So, no, it definitely takes skill and practice to be able to do that at the speed she did. And so we're back with Svetlana, and she's now adding in finishing touches as well. So she's got the majority of painting, and it looks as though she's added in texture with paint as well. Because right now we have 5 minutes left, and so I'm sure all the artists feel a lot of pressure. It comes to what else do they need to really finish the painting? What can they do to make it pop? And so they're really in the zone at this point.
They seem to all be where they should want to be. Everyone's got their main details down.
Yeah, from the looks of it, she's just adding in the texture. She's making the paint a bit chunky on purpose. And she's adding details to the flowers and to the designs on her characters now. So now we've got Nikita, and she's adding in final details as well. We've also got a lot of precision. She's drawn in those little bird toes.
I like how she's used that big gap in the background as well to add a little bit of detail.
Yeah, you can see the texture of the paint on the background as well. And so we've got this contrast between the bright bird, and now we've got that black and white showing up as well.
Yeah, she seems to really stand out in between those two canvases, right?
And you can really see the shapes forming as if it's this grand ball, where Renat started off with these really abstract black and grey shapes, and now it's just formed into this really detailed scene. So there's a lot of skill in being able to think of the order of how to paint your painting.
Yeah,
like he's broken down the steps. And so now it's just like refining as well, because I think he's really done. He's just going in and adding those tiny details with his pencil. Ooh, we've got 2 minutes left. Here are Michael's. He's got a mix of some areas of quite blended in, such as the mountainscape, and then keeping those really broad, chunky strokes on his horse and cowboy. And we're back with Rosie, and so she's blending in the background as well. So she's adding a lot of detail in that coloring. And here we have Laura again, and she's kept it quite elegant with the warm tones of yellows and reds, and just that little pop of light blue on the nose. So she's quite skillful at choosing her color palette, keeping it simple but really elegant here.
55 seconds.
Ooh, we've got less than a minute left. We've got about 50 seconds.
So this is the part that you start looking at your artwork, going, okay, have I missed anything? Does it look okay? Are there any blank spots?
Yeah, exactly. It's your mind is just racing. You can't even put paint out of your paint tubes anymore. You just got to use what's already on your palette and go for it. So as we can see, the artist here, Nikita, she's just using her fingers. She's just really defining little areas. So right now, the artists aren't even thinking of time. They're just going, how much more can I get before Luke says stop? So we've got
Here we
5
go.
seconds left. 3,
I think he's
2, 1. Here we go.
And paintbrush is down.
Paintbrush is down. So that's the end of round 1. And I'm not sure about you, but like you could just feel all the artists just let go in this breath of relief.
Yeah. Yes, that feeling of, okay, I am done.
Yeah. They've done such a good job, like actually managing to finish off the paintings. Sometimes you have this pressure of like, can you finish in time?
Everyone's saying that is complete, so it's good. Everyone's gotten through. There's a really good crowd tonight as well.
It is, yeah. The quality of the artist is like quite strong.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, I did go through the profiles of all the artists for tonight, and they all seem really amazing. But then it's going to be hard for the crowd to choose tonight, I think.
Yeah. And so for those of you at home, what happens now is that the crowd actually is going around and seeing the finished artworks, and so they will actually choose the winners to go into the final round. We also have some time, so we have a second round of artists who will go through and they will paint for 20 minutes, like this round so far, and then the winners from both round 1 and round 2 will go to the finals. And as you said, Oslin, you were the finalist before, so you've gone through this experience of having to compete twice in the same round.
So you get this adrenaline rush when your name gets called out the second time, and you're like, okay, I have to do it all over again. Focus, refocus, forget about what you did in the first one, and start fresh.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have
this one? Sorry?
Can you say that again?
I was saying there's 2 artists that get picked from this round, and then there'll be 2 artists from the next round, and they'll go head to head for the winner.
That's it. And so, so the screen is paused. I wonder if they paused it for the break, or whether it's just the streaming error.
My end's frozen as well, so I think it's just frozen.
Maybe it's just frozen. So we do have about a 10-minute break, and so in this time they actually clear up the stations so that they can prepare for the next round. And as I said before, participants to vote. So hopefully it's just pausing the recording so they can set up. But with you, did you prepare two artworks for the I guess, but for when you got to the finals? Because that's what I did. I actually prepared two artworks. I practiced in advance. And
Yeah,
then,
I had two ready for the second time I competed. I had one idea and that went out the window, and I just went with it. And I guess you can kind of, that's kind of proof that if you are not prepared, that be prepared not to be going to the second round. So I think we're on a little break. So I
yep,
think we'll come back when the second round is about to start.
yeah. So we've got about 10 minutes or so. So if you've been watching, you have a little bit of time to go to the bathroom, get yourself a cup of tea or something, and get ready for the next round. Don't think it's over and you could just go home or anything. We do have another exciting round of really skilled and talented artists coming up. So
Yeah.
make sure you come back, everyone. But I guess in this time, maybe you can just talk about ourselves and how we prepared as artists. Because I feel as though when you're a participant judging, you're not entirely informed. You're thinking, oh, is this person, you know, is this their full capacity? When really you're judging someone based on the time pressures of having to compete in those 20 minutes. Because I found that if you're naturally someone who takes more time, you have to not only change um, what you draw, but you have to change how you draw. Like you have to make your
Yeah.
brain think, how can I do this faster? And so,
Yeah.
in a
And
way, you're
also keep your
performing different
style
to
at the
normal.
same time. So you're going to
Exactly.
kind of keep your own personality in there, but you just got to do it faster.
Mm. And when you're looking at the profiles of some of the artists competing as well, you have to think about their natural medium in a sense, because we had Rosie competing just now, and she was painting with acrylics. When really, if you look at her profile, she does a lot of watercolor, and so watercolor is quite soft and diluted. You can actually use the natural paper as part of your to be able to incorporate with your paint, but really to use acrylics is a whole different medium. So yeah, some artists are
Yeah.
really adapting to the moment.
Yeah. So she's like a really good example of keeping your style, keeping your own personal touch in there, but how to do it faster. So
Mm,
looking at her profile and her previous artworks, the one that she did tonight is, you can tell that it's definitely by her,
mm,
and she's managed to put up exactly her style in that 20 minutes.
yeah, that's it, definitely. And I'm just like going through the profiles of the artists. So those of you watching, if you go onto the Art Battle website, you can actually see the artists that are listed for tonight, and you can go and check out the individual profiles, see their style and what they work with.
I think I can't be 100% certain, but I think Michael does a lot of pastel as well, from what I can see in his profile.
Mm,
So I feel like he's had to adapt as well. So he's brought his style in,
yeah,
which is it's actually a little bit different to what he normally does in regards to detail.
yeah,
But he still put up a really good piece. So he managed to get that whole image of the horse and the details in there, and
But in ways, I feel as though he's also been true to his style because it's been he works with a lot of texture and mark making. So with his cowboy, even though he only had that one acrylic medium to work with, still managed to get a lot of chunky paint and thick texture in
Yeah.
there. And so as well, we had Svetlana, and so I think as well she does some mixed media drawing as well, some line drawings with markers and textures with pencil, so different mediums. So she had to really work as well and condense it down into acrylic for tonight. But I noticed she stayed true to using her little cat characters, so you can really recognize who she is based off of the characters.
Yeah, that's right. So the next ones, who do we have? We have Derek,
Yep.
and I'm just checking out their profiles to kind of see if we can get a feel of which way they would kind of be going.
Yeah, definitely.
So I can see with Derek, the artwork that he submitted to Art Battle as a profile is like a
Oh wow, yes.
it's kind of, yeah, it's like a surrealism, Medusa,
It's quite
a lot of
detailed actually.
detail, a lot of detail. So I wonder how he's going to go with that 20 minutes.
Mm. It looks as though he's got like anatomy knowledge as well. And usually what I find is people who do anatomy, you might want to put in extra time to be able to shape the body with really putting your under sketches in place. So to work within those 20 minutes is going to be hard, but really quite skillful.
Just the detail in his artwork is it's amazing. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what he actually puts up in 20 minutes.
Mm, definitely. We also have EC Mode, who's competing as well. So from the looks of it, they don't have um, very much to compare on their profile, but they do the artwork that they submitted to Art Battle is a mix of line drawing and acrylic and sorry, watercolor paint. And again, having that surrealist approach to it. So it'll be interesting
Yeah,
to see how they adapt their watercolor style to using the acrylic mediums.
it's also really hard if um you can see the detail in the picture that they put up,
Mm,
the shapes and all those little details within that body. It's so hard to make everything just fit so it looks perfect and that it flows
yeah,
and that it doesn't just look like you've thrown something on there.
yeah. There's a
So
curation
it'd
to
be interesting to
choose
see, yeah,
those
if they go
shapes.
the same way.
We also have Mush Brain, and from the looks of it, they like to use marker and pen to draw um, this kind of decorate clutter of characters and shapes together. So might be interesting. Maybe they might go for acrylic paint pens to get that same effect.
Yeah, so we had an artist last month in the last battle that actually did with the markers as well.
Mm,
So artists that usually normally have this style, they do tend to opt for markers in the art battle. But it'd be interesting to see if she sticks to this style or if she comes up with something different and changes it a little bit using acrylics. If she tries
yeah,
to use acrylics or if she just sticks with her markers.
true. And for those of you at home watching, it makes a difference in choosing your materials. So using a brush to get a straight, clean line sometimes is quite difficult. It takes a lot of training to get that precision. So if you're someone who's more graphic oriented and drawing really sharp colors, really clean lines, using markers can actually help get that effect. So that's how come you see people with this sort of style, this graphic style, of opting for markers. It's quite popular in street art scene as well.
Yeah, having this kind of style as well requires a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity, and being able to just let yourself go to come up with
Mm,
so many different characters.
yeah, definitely. We
And
also
then
have, oh,
Fast Bunny,
yes, Class Bunny. So from their application as well, looks as though they have mixed medium style as well, with what looks as though they have pencil as well as paint. They like to have that textured approach.
I think I can see some watercolor in this profile as well.
Sometimes it's interesting to check artists' profiles because the artwork that they have on their own page is what they choose to personally put forward for the world to see and what they're usually proud of. So when they have like a huge mixed media collection, so we also have collage as well for Class Buddy. Uh, it
Yeah,
really
she seems
shows
very
how
creative.
versatile they can be. Yes, exactly. Uh, seem to be focusing on a lot of different subjects, having portraiture with people, uh, got some floral art as well, and food art. So
Yeah.
Class Buddy's got just a whole lot of versatility in the subject matter. So it'd be interesting to see what they decide to actually paint for their round.
Yeah, I think I would feel like she would do really well in this because it seems like she can adapt to anything. So
Mm,
it'd be really interesting to see what she actually brings to the canvas.
yeah,
'Cause she's got
definitely.
so much versatility and she's crafty. It just seems I feel like she would be comfortable doing this
Mm,
and kind of in her zone because it seems like she's just one of these creative minds that just continuously needs to be making something.
yeah, definitely. So next I've got Space Romper as one of our next competitors. And it seems as though they're really comfortable with drawing the human form. They also use watercolor as well as what looks to be acrylic or oil. So it seems as though they're quite natural at using oil, so they might really work well in this next round using materials that they're familiar with.
Yeah, and it's the profile actually, it's really interesting to see that they're really good at both female and male,
Hmm.
whereas a lot of people feel more comfortable doing one or the other.
Yeah.
But this is like both female and male are like perfect figures, and the details in their faces and their bodies.
Hmm. And it seems as though they're quite skillful at getting I guess, the sensuality of the human shapes. So in particular, they have watercolor collection where they're not putting a lot of detail, but you can really see the forms emerge. So that might be an interesting technique considering we have this short time limit for the competition. Whereas on the other hand, some of their more polished work has really striking shadow forms and shapes. So,
Yeah, so there's a few that are just forms, and then there are some that are really detailed as well. So there's a mix in there.
hmm,
Like with we've got artwork with bodies with tattoos on them. And it's even like doing details of a body is hard in itself and with anatomy, but to do details of artwork on top of an artwork, it is like a whole other level.
That's true, exactly. And they're quite confident in their use of colors. Almost like if you're in a nightclub and you have flashing lights, they're not choosing natural tones, but they're really enhancing it with these bright fuchsias and cyans.
They seem to be have a similar color palette through their artwork. So it'll be interesting to see if they stick to it.
Exactly. I mean,
It's not really.
sometimes.
Sorry, no, it's not. I was just looking at the profile. Like, it's not really bright. There's no really bright colors in there. But the artwork itself brings out this light when you look at it. Just the energy of it.
Yes. I was going to say, sometimes it's hard to tell for art battle what a person's going to choose, because in their art studio, when they're drawing in their normal style, they might have the opportunities to really work and develop their ideas. But when you're at the art battle and you have this really strict time limit, sometimes they might have to adapt. If they're used to choosing a lot of bright colors, some of the artists might think, you know what, I'm going to reduce the color palette, or I might make it more simple. So sometimes they surprise us compared to what they enter as their profile entry, in the way that they can adapt to the situation of the time limits.
And I'm just looking at Raffaello.
Yes, so Raph is going to be our last entry for this round.
They seem to have a bit of a punk art theme going on, style.
Yeah. I'm just
And this
going
one is
through
a lot of fine lines as well.
their profile as well. And so, yeah, exactly as you said, quite punk, almost like really informal, just sketchbook artworks where they're really just pushing materials, painting with markers and then bleeding it out using water or alcohol, or pushing different materials. So it looks as though as well they use pens, markers, maybe even watercolors as well.
Yeah,
And
a lot of things
you,
without hate. So it'll be interesting to see what way they actually sway, if they go with the paint or pull into the pressure and go with the paint of art battle, or if they stick to their style and go with their markers and what they're normally used to.
yeah. Because I
There's
feel
a
as
few.
though
Sorry, you go.
I was gonna say some art battles have different medium specializations, I've noticed, but really for Sydney in this particular round, we're sticking to acrylic paint so far. So again, it's quite interesting. We'll see whether the artists might bring their own materials and choose to work with them, or whether they'll use acrylics like the other artists so far, and how they manage.
Yeah, so I think this one is going to be very interesting because everyone has a very different style. So this one's going to be very different round.
Definitely.
So Rocket Child, are you thinking of competing again?
Yeah, I might actually. So I live in Canberra, so some of you who are Aussies would know where that is. If you're not, it's about 4 hours or so distance away from Sydney. So I'm not able to come as regularly as I'd like, but I definitely would love to compete again. It was a lot of fun, and once you're there, again, a lot of it has to do with how you think on the spot. So the challenge really isn't only painting, which is just the normal art challenge. It's just really how to paint quickly and get everything you want in that time period, and the environment, the pressures of the energy of so many people around and feeling that. So yeah, I definitely love to come and compete again.
It was interesting. I actually spoke to a couple of the artists in the last battle, and just got to ask them a few questions of how they feel, if they're nervous, and a lot of them were just, "I'm here to have fun," and that's the good spirit of this. Like, it's just good fun, especially if you are an artist that's creating artwork full time, just to have this little break and to be able to create something without the pressure or thinking about anything, and just have fun for once.
Well, in a certain sense, it's also like collaboration and getting yourself out there as well, because when you're just working in your studio or in your room or wherever, it's quite an isolating experience. So be able to go out and actually meet your contemporaries is quite a unique experience. And even just going out with art lovers, so the audience who's participating, you know, they may not make art themselves, but they really appreciate what you're doing, the craftsmanship and the skill behind it. So it's a great way to go out and actually meet people and to just collaborate with, you know, the art community.
Yeah, get fresh eyes on your artwork as well, because as artists, I think that sometimes you need to put yourself out there just to kind of reassure yourself that you're doing okay. Because as you said, like, you are isolated and you have these thoughts like, is my artwork good enough? Am I doing the right thing? And sometimes it gets to that point where you're just so worried about what everybody else is thinking. And this is a really good step to be able to go out there informally and just do your thing, and getting feedback from the audience just about how they view your paintings and how they interpret the first time that the art piece that I actually won the art battle with in the first Sydney art battle. It was very, very interesting to get the audience's view. They would come up to me and they were all telling me what they thought it was and the feelings they got when they looked at it. And it's really reassuring as an artist to have people say things like that to you, because you're like, I'm doing my art, like I'm doing pretty good. And sometimes you just need a little bit of just keep going.
Well, in a way, it's also great to meet other human beings. And the reason I say it like that is, when you are an artist, often you have to get your artwork out there into the world. You either have to exhibit, say, in an exhibition, or you put it online in your own artistic portfolio or social media. And really, the only way you could judge whether people like what you're doing or even interact with it is like a thumbs up or something like that. So to have human beings come up to you and say, hey, you know, that's really interesting, I like that, or even just be here in this event together and just like be fascinated by what you do, is just this whole other, you know, way of communicating that's just beyond, you know, thumbs up online. It really helps make you feel as though you're part of the community.
You get a really good insight into how people perceive you as an artist as well. Because like you say, yeah, there's a thumbs up, there's a love heart, and just very blank, and it's really hard to sell something online. And if you don't sell anything online, you're like, does anybody like it? Is anybody attracted to it? Is it making anyone feel anything? But when you're at an event like this, you actually get to hear that people are actually feeling the emotion behind your painting. And I think having the audience, giving them the option to be able to actually see the way that you create the artwork, kind of gives them a different insight of how it was actually created. I think it kind of gives you a different feeling about it when you actually see the artwork, because you saw it come to life.
Yeah, And as I said, like there's such skill and talent just to be able to create an artwork on a normal day, but to be able to just accelerate it at this speed, it really showcases, you know, pushed when you're pushed on the edge, what you're able to perform as an artist.
All right,
And
ready to get
so
this show on the
a lot
road?
of people, are art lovers, but
Let's go
really
around the
it's
floor.
quite a fascinating thing to just see the process of how an artwork is made from start to finish when you're not quite sure.
Are you ready?
So that's really great
Yeah.
to
Number.
collaborate and bring those that are artists together
Is
as well as
that
those
ready
that
for
are
your
art
time?
lovers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
So we're
If you
now
would
ready
like
for
to
the
hold
second
yourself to the
round.
line, make sure you scan the QR
We
code
have
again.
All
all
the
the
artists have
artists
got
at the
their stuff
stations.
ready.
Bid on the artworks. If you haven't done it, go do it now. We'll wait. All right.
So they get 10 minutes to
Thank you.
prepare their artwork and their tools and everything before the round
We're going to
actually
start looking
starts.
at the prize that we have up for offer here. You see this elusive looking box of beers at the
So what
table?
they do
I
is they
think what you
change the
lot might
water
enjoy.
and they get
Let's
fresh
keep it moving.
pallets. So just
Let's
like
go. The
before,
prize
these
for
artists
box of
still
beers
have
is up for
access
winner,
to some
provided
of
by the
the paints
integrity.
provided by
Another
Art
reason that
Battle.
integrity
But
has been
really,
provided
if they bring their
is this
own
cash
equipment with
prize,
them,
tax-free,
they also get
goes
the
to the winner
chance
tonight.
of
Not this round.
being able to set
Two
that up.
artists will be
And here
voted
we
for
can
this
see
round
Luke
and the
is
round
flashing
before.
that
There
prize
will be
money for
30 days
those
of
that
action items after
get
this.
to the
And the
finals right
last winner
there.
of the third round will win
So
this
you get the
prize. That's how
$250,
it works.
but
You can
you
always
also get a chance
this
to go
championship
to other art battles to
by doing
represent
one little
Sydney as
bit
well. So it's a really
and
amazing opportunity
actually
for
participate
artists.
properly. But if you
Mm,
tap into the picture,
definitely.
you
I
will see
mean,
the artworks and which
the
ones
idea
fit
to
the
compete
art battle
internationally and
technology.
again,
All right, let's get 20
be
minutes
able
of
to
your time.
collaborate and meet new artists and new art communities is just such a fantastic opportunity.
I think he's
Mm,
setting the time.
yep. And what you guys might not realize, because the music's quite low on the recording, but music is sort of like a heartbeat. It's really pulsy, quite energetic. And so when you're standing there as an artist looking at that blank canvas, you feel the music running through you, quite invigorating.
I guess it's two ways. It's either you use that adrenaline or it beats you.
Yeah, it either makes you nervous, or,
Countdown going. Ready?
it gives you
Here we go.
power. Here we go.
3,
Three,
2,
two, one. And here we go. We start the next round. So just like
So we've got
before,
a
we were saying,
marker out.
yeah, exactly. You could see a marker happening here.
We've got a shape down.
So this is
The
Raph
figure.
that we were talking about before. So looks as though he's decided to go with his kind of graphic comic style and he's using a marker. So he's quite confident in his marks as well.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he wants them to look like. He just seems very comfortable with what he's doing.
Mm. And sometimes it's quite intimidating because just having a large canvas in front of you, that's completely different from having a sketchbook or a piece of like computer paper. You really have to think about how you're going to fill that up. So to be able to confidently get your lines down is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's also a lot of artists that sketch or use markers are normally sitting. So when you have to stand in front of a canvas, it's a whole other angle that you have to try and get it down as well.
Yeah. So here we have Derek, and it looks as though he's got, he used a marker to get his initial line work down as well. And now he's coloring
So
in.
he's
So
going
he's
with
used
paint.
So you use that marker as a starting point to then fill in the shapes.
So this is the hard part when you are using a small brush, and it's such a small time to be able to figure out how you're going to fill in that. You've made a little crown, so how's he going to fill in that little crown?
Exactly. And
So
here we have
we've
Mush
got
Brain. And so,
So she's the one that does all the little character doodles.
so I suppose we guessed correctly. She's gone straight in using that paint marker. So being true to the style as well, and just blocking in the shapes.
She
You can
doesn't
see
seem to
how
have a
quick it
reference
is.
either, so she is just going with the flow.
And so, yeah, definitely, it depends on the artist. You know, some work better when they have a reference to guide them, and some just really take inspiration from the moment, come up with something. So we have EC mode here, and it looks as though they're blocking in shapes and colors.
So we've gone with a bright red and yellow. No background yet, so wondering if there's going to be background on that, because if there is, it's going to be really hard to try and get it on there with the figures already on there.
But for the time being, it looks as though they're working with a limited palette, so it gives them the ability to just block in the shapes quickly and then start to refine. So I guess we'll see once we go around how the painting evolves. But from the looks of it, and the paint they've put out, they really want to just work with these warm colors. And I guess that's sort of what we were talking about before, and there's advantages to being able to control a limited palette in a short amount of time.
Really good detail going in at very, very early stage.
So this looks like Class Bunny, and looks as though
she's the one that does everything.
Yeah, exactly. She does so much mixed media, and if you look at her palette, she does like to paint food and fish in particular. So it looks as though she's going back to something that she knows and has confidence with. So in this kind of competition as well, sometimes it can help to paint something you're really strong with, have a lot of confidence. You might want to experiment in your own personal time, but when you come here for business, painting something you're really familiar with might give you a bit of an edge. Might help you not feel so nervous when it comes to coming up with new ideas.
So it's the one with the very detailed. They're kind of sticking with the same style.
But it's quite clever. So they painted the background blue completely, so they don't need to fill in any little gaps or anything later on. And now they're just refining and bringing the shape out using that yellow paint, or yellow and green paint. So it's like the shape is emerging.
Detail is going to go into this one. Their style is very detailed.
Definitely. Okay, so we're back again to wrap, and it looks as though he used that marker to get the initial design in and is going in with paint, filling in, blocking in those shapes. Still quite punk, like his portfolio has before. Just using a lot of those pure bright colors, not even thinking about filling in within the lines or anything, just painting quite aggressively, getting that color on there. So far we've
this style, so this kind of style kind of works in his favor when it comes to time.
That's true, actually. It does. It's quite a fast style. It really works for him. Here we've passed about 7 minutes so far. So it's good to see that the majority of the artists just got their canvases filled. See what's happening on this side here.
Finishes, but I feel that he's kind of underestimated the time that he has.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
this is Derek. He's the one we were talking about. He has a really detailed, kind of surrealist style. So perhaps he's much better at working with a longer time frame. Because as you're saying,
Class Bunny.
he's
Next
quite
on the
slow
way.
when compared to the other artists. He's taking a lot of time and care when really time pressure really doesn't allow it. So we'll
Yes.
see how
So
he manages
he's
to catch up.
yeah. His style seems to be taking over kind of what he's doing right now because he's probably so used to having so much time and that detail, and I think that's kind of taking over what he's doing because he's so used to it that he's trying to at the same time keep what he's used to going, but also kind of not realizing that there's such a short amount of time.
Hmm. And here we have Mush Brain, and it seems as though they've really embraced just pushing their style. Quite possible that they might go and complete the entire canvas using only the paint marker instead of using brush. And that might work in their favor. 'Cause it just works with their style. They're trained and they practice it so much that they seem really confident in the execution.
Do you know how many he's made so far? 15,000 artworks already, which is, I calculated, around
So this is kind of keeping a loose style still.
Mm.
do that. I like it. Hopefully, got it in an
So
apple.
this is
All right,
EC
we have
mode.
next coming up.
They blocked in those
Get
colors
ready.
and
This is
quite
definitely
aggressively
the
adding in the line work, not even thinking again about coloring
very
within the
random.
lines.
He puts these
They're actually
artworks
pushing it.
all
Seems as
sitting in
though
a
we
big
have a lot of
giant
motion and energy,
Yeah, here we go.
almost kind of like the
He always
characters
aims
in
to
a
nurture
nightclub.
a quality era. He mixes technology and mythology
I think
to make
sometimes when you
very
have a
powerful
reference photo
artwork.
as well, and then
That noise is
you
very
think
bad.
that I can get this down and it's going to look exactly like this, but then when you're in
Look at the
this
colors.
position,
There's no
you kind of
question color
adjust
control.
and
And
still kind of keep it to what you wanted it to be,
colors
but you change your
just make the
style.
percentage of the rest of the work.
Hmm.
So I
Well,
feel like this is what's
yeah,
kind of happening here.
Happiness, joy, and meeting lots
that's
of fun,
true.
positive
Because we did
people.
see that they had a reference photo before, and it
She
looked
said
a
she
bit
is looking
more
for hours, but
um,
tonight she's
polished.
giving us 20
But in
minutes.
ways,
Well,
it could just
actually,
be the
10
starting
minutes left.
point. You
I
use
just
it
saw
as
the timer right now. 10
an
minutes
idea
left.
and break
Really
away,
to the
and you
last
start to
artist here
evolve.
this round. We have
Because
EC
each
Mode. Make
at
some
the event,
noise.
there's
EC
a lot of
Mode is a graphic
energetic music,
artist designer
so
whose
you
genius
can feel
comes from
quite
his genius.
inspired
He
just by
specializes
the
in
energy
mixing,
there.
integral printmaking, screen printing,
So
and
we're back at
illustration.
Class
We
Bunny,
see
and
through his
it
great
seems as
expertise that
though
he's doing art
um,
every
they've
single
now
day.
blocked in the
When she's
colors
not
of the
doing art,
fish
she's
and
busy working on
the
her creative
sardine
vision.
can.
Yeah. Okay,
So
DJ Blues, you can turn that
blocking
music
in those
up.
main
Get this thing
colors.
going.
I feel like she feels like she's got the detail down that she wanted to get down. And
Mm,
I think she's comfortable now just filling out the rest of the canvas.
yeah. I find fish scales, like how you were talking about before with bird feathers, sometimes it could be a bit finicky to get those details in, but it seems as though Class
Definitely.
Bunny really managed to focus her time initially on getting those shapes of fish scales, and now is more comfortable to fill out the rest of the canvas.
So I like this one. It's
So this
only
is
using
Space
a
Rocker
few
again.
colors. Yeah, only using a few colors, but that detailing is coming through,
Hmm.
even though it's so simple.
Seems kind of like carving in a way, like revealing the shape from the background with every time Space Romper comes in and just adds more color, it's revealing the shape emerging.
Every time a layer goes out, every time there's a stroke, something else pops out.
So we're about half time now. Actually, we're over half time. We're about 12 minutes into the painting process. So we have less than halfway for the artists to finish their paintings. I can imagine every time Luke calls out the time the artists just feel a little bit of a jolt, like, oh, I've got to add more. I've got to make sure I get there in time. That there is quite a lot of pressure in making sure your artwork looks nice and polished and beautiful, but at the same time, just feeling as though can you make it. So it's quite intense and energy consuming when you're in this position. So here we are with Raph again, and it seems as though he's kind of completely abandoning that initial sketch he did before. It was the starting point, but now he's adding color, completely distorting the face that was there before.
So this is when you need to realize what stage you're up to, how much time you have left, and where you're going to go from this point. How do you want to finish off? Sometimes you have to kind of abandon your idea and tweak it so that you get down what you want within that little amount of time that you misinterpreted.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes the idea you start off with, it just goes completely off script and you just got to run with it. So we're back with Derek again, and you can see like how precise he is using those small brushes. So it looks as though he's really just focusing on the this kind of Godzilla sort of character here, not even worrying about the background anymore, just focusing only on this character.
Determined to use a little brush.
I mean, that's a pretty bold decision to consistently use the small brushes.
I think this is kind of where my style kind of kicked in from, because of you have a little brush and then you're like, I need to make more of my time in using hands and be able to mold things the way that you want to do. I kind of find it just easier to just do it by hand.
Yeah, true. I mean, you have a lot of dexterity and you can feel the texture of the paint when you use your hands. So it's quite a quick way to actually sense and feel the texture when you use your hands. And here we have Witchbrain. And so just like before, they've consistently continued to use this one paint pen for the entire canvas. And they're really confident in just adding in these characters. And it's almost like they have their own vocabulary of little characters in their heads and just being able to instinctively place them.
It's like your own little language and you just know what you're doing and what you're writing.
It takes a lot of skill because like they didn't even have a sketch or anything, so to know what you're placing and make sure it's in the right place. Quite clever. And so this painting's evolved quite nicely. So this is EC mode again, and so the painting is almost a bit like an explosion where the colors are smudging out and interacting. So the reds and the blacks and the yellows, they're kind of smearing together, but it's quite energetic.
Yeah, I can actually you can feel this painting. Like you can feel the emotion of these little people on the canvas. You kind of feel what they're thinking.
And it's like as if they're dancing, where you can't just pin them to one pose or something. That the paint that's going outside the outlines, as if it's kind of like a motion blur in a camera. So we've got about 4 minutes left, so we're really into the end of it. The artists are now adding finishing details.
She's managed to get her background down. Which is really fast, actually.
Quite nice. So this is Class Bunny again. Usually I would actually put the background first and then add the detail at the end, but she's done the opposite. She focused her time in adding the detail of the little fish in the beginning, and now seems quite relaxed in adding the detail at the end.
I think it may have been the color that she might have planned to use that color for the background, and because her colors are so dark, she might have thought, oh, it might be better if she does that, so the colors actually stand out off that dark background. So sometimes you do have to kind of think about, okay, well, what I'm painting is not going to stand out from what I planned to put in the back.
So here we are with Space Romper, and they are now starting to chisel out and define the figure. Seems almost like a kind of a space goddess figure emerging from those bright neon colors. Here we have Raph. So again, now we've got 3 minutes, coming 2 minutes left. We got Derek. Seems
So
as though
Derek's
he's
got a
reaching
little
the
bit
end.
of punk art as well. Kind of a punk art kind of vibe.
Yeah. Completely different from his profile image, so he just adapted his style to the time limits we have here. Next we have Mush Brain, so now they're finally adding in little details, just using, again, paint marker, but this time red, adding the blush to the cheeks and to the lips. So tiny details and really bringing that pop of color. EC mode is adding in droplets of paint. So again, enhancing that expression of movement. We're on to the last minute. You could really feel all the artists just rushing, adding in those final details.
I feel like this one felt like a bit of a tough round.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you see the artists in the first round and like when you have like a crew like the first round and they seem to be squeezing through it, it kind of puts you in a place where you think, oh yeah, I've got this, and then you go into the round of the second one and you're like, okay, it's completely different to what I just watched.
You've got a point there, you know, the order of where you are and the competition does make a big difference, because you feel all juiced up for round one, and then afterwards, by the time you make it to round two, you almost feel kind of a fatigue from just like watching the first round and seeing the competition. Even the audience as well, like, comes in with more energy for the first round. So when you're in the second round, you really gotta feel as though you gotta put more energy out there.
That's right. So this is the end of round two.
So we finally finished, end of round two. The artists are just taking a breather. Here we got Raph's final artwork.
It's a selfie.
Yeah. At the beach.
Is that what I'm seeing? It looks like a selfie at the beach, looking like it's a cell phone.
Quite abstract in a way. It's almost you can't exactly see the shapes. Then we have, it's really quite fast. We got Class Bunny. So before we could see the details of adding bits of yellow on top of that dark green background. So quite a clever way to make the dark background have that little bit of detail. Then we have EC mode. They stay pretty true to their reference in ways.
I feel like it was a little bit less detailed than what they expected from the reference photo, but that might be what they were going for in the beginning.
Mushbrain was quite focused. Like they came in knowing what they wanted to do and just went with it. So, and we have Derek. Jean-Michel was wrong over here. So quite punk.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. But he managed to color everything in and get all his paint down.
Yeah, I guess it seemed as though like he chose to stick to that small brush to the very end and had to adapt his design. I think where some of the other artists using a bigger brush felt more confident in getting all that color in place.
So
And so
voting should be
now,
open for the artworks now.
yep, that's it. So it looks as though the video has paused again, so we're gonna have another break round. And just like before, and as you were saying, the audience will go around with their phones and they'll choose the two winners that they like the most out of this round two to go to the finals. Also, all the artworks will be available for sale on a silent auction. So if you're interested, check out the hyperlink that's on the website if you want to participate as well. If you can vote and bid on the auctions. And so
It's
in
a
this,
great piece like this as well because you've actually seen it be created and it starts with such a small price for an artwork of that much detail. But it's an opportunity that if you do like something, like you need to take that opportunity because that artwork's never going to come around ever again.
yeah, and to be in that situation where you actually see the skill of the artist pushed to the limits, it's not their usual um, time, like where they might take 2 hours or 10 hours or however to do it. They're really pushing their skill to show you what they can produce in such a really powerful, concentrated amount of time. You're really
Yeah,
getting the
people
essence.
need to people need to understand as well that even though it's such a small amount of time, it still takes a lot of skill to be able to paint something in that
Mm,
short amount of time. So it's not it shouldn't be a point where it's devaluing the art just because it was done in such a short amount of time. Like it actually takes a lot of skill to
mm.
be able to produce something in that time.
No, definitely. I mean, if you think of it, it's not just an ordinary job where you work for 1 hour and you get paid a certain price because you're of an hourly wage. It's because you've spent your whole life or however long, training, really developing skills. Because thing people who are not artists might not realize is there's to get the dexterity, to get smooth lines and precision, to have your mind be able to figure out design when it comes to composition or color. It takes a lot of practice and skill to develop and to hone that technique. So speed is not really showing you, um, that the artwork was only worth, 20 minutes. It was showing you, many years of those artists in spending their life to produce such high quality skill that they could simply
Yeah,
produce it
that's
under pressure, at that time.
it's like that
Definitely.
that story that's going around on social media about Picasso. I don't know if you
Mm,
heard it. Someone's asked
yeah,
him to do a sketch at the cafe, and he's charged them for it. And they're like, "It only took you a couple of minutes." He's like, "No, it took me years to be able to do it in a couple of minutes."
exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's the same concept. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of mistakes, a lot
Mm,
of experimenting to be able to find your style and your flow and feel confident.
yeah, definitely. And though I was actually thinking of that same, example as we were having this conversation, and might just be good to explain for the audience in case they haven't um, heard this story. But so I'm just going to explain it a bit longer. Is Picasso was in a cafe one time and somebody came up to him to ask, for an autograph, and he did a quick little sketch on a napkin and sort of charged them like a really high price. And said, well, why is it so expensive? It's just on a napkin. You did it in 2 seconds. And Picasso's response was, it took me my whole life to be able to develop the skills to be able to execute the artwork in a few seconds. And so, therefore, the value wasn't in the final product, but it was in his lifetime of skill to be able to achieve that. And so, I guess that's what we're trying to, explain here is that when you're artists, these are things you know instinctively because you spend your whole life, just really honing your craft and working on it all the time. But if you are, an art lover or someone who just sees the final product of the art, sometimes it's hard to know the backstory of how much effort and work and training really goes in to be able to produce the final artworks.
So, Rocket Child, if I asked you how long have you been actually in, do you do art full time, or is it something that you do on the side?
So I am trained as an artist. I've done like my Bachelor of Fine Arts and honors, and I've been doing art since I was 3 years old. But at this current time, I'm actually not doing it full time. I do other work just because art is not able to sustain me. And so I find the kind of conversation we're having now to be quite relevant to, certain artists, including myself, is that you might be quite skilled in your work, but you have to spend a lot of time justifying it to people who perhaps don't understand your craft. How come your labor costs a certain amount of money?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I would consider myself to be a professional artist, but it's not necessarily the way that I make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard for, if there is anyone that's not within Australia that's listening, it is extremely hard in this country to make it as an artist. But I feel like the community is building through this generation. So I feel like there is more interest now in art than there was ever before. But we still struggle a lot here to be able to be provided with opportunities such as the art battle, to be able to showcase what we can do and find opportunities for ourselves and actually be able to just live off being a full-time artist. It's really hard here, but I feel like it is getting better. It's getting there. But I feel like we still have a long way to go in Australia when it comes to supporting artists.
Yeah. And I feel as though usually when people use the word professional, it's kind of associated to that's how you make a living, that's how you get paid to do your job. But I find with artists, there are a lot of people with a professional ethic in that, at the end of the day, after you finish an ordinary office job, you stop work at 5 o'clock. But if you're an artist, sometimes you're working, long into the night. You work longer hours, or you do different roles that are separate to the art making. You might be your own manager. You might do your own, be your own marketer. You might have sales and produce different merchandise. So like so much more goes into being an artist than is just one role.
Yeah.
And so, which is quite difficult because not all the time you're trained to necessarily do those things. You have to learn on your own. So I feel as though some artists may not earn the money to have it as their full-time job, but they definitely take the profession quite seriously. So having these opportunities where, like Art Battle, where they can actually display their skill, to network and meet, like-minded people is a really great opportunity.
Yeah, so it's like the art battle. I would love to for the art community to come out and have more things like this for artists, so that we can be provided with more opportunities to be able to introduce art to the world. It's actually a really important thing. Like mentally, it helps you, heals you. It's been the answer for a lot of issues with a lot of people. So it's actually really important, and I feel like people need to know about what we do and what art actually is a lot more.
I feel as though there's some ways where you see art in a commercial sense, like you see it in video games, you see it on, Netflix or whatever. You can even say, design by an extension is art, whatever you see on the back of a bus, a graphic designer had to make that, And so But really, like an example of art battle, you're seeing artists have to think on the spot. They're using their skills to choose the right colors and be able to find composition. So a lot of things people take for granted, artists have to train, to have that really, to have that mindset to be able to think and, come up with ideas. So from the looks of it, we have now gotten to the point where they're counting the votes of round 1 and round 2, and that way they will decide.
These are the ones that everything's up for auction, so they're all displayed there for audience to be able to get a closer look at all the details in these paintings, vote and be able to bid on them as well.
Exactly. They can also vote to choose who's going to the next round, and as we say, vote and bid for auction. And it makes a difference when you can see the artwork up close and you can see those details, especially like as you were saying before, to paint a horse is quite difficult, and getting the dimensions and the proportions right. So to do it freehand takes a lot of skill.
It's also I find it better to be able to actually see the paintings or artworks in real life, because especially in my case, when I paint, every single one of my paintings have texture, and it's so hard to photograph that texture and be able to kind of show the audience what's actually in there. For a lot of the artworks, I've got 3 artworks up on Art Battle, and they look really flat, but they're actually very textured and they stick off the canvas. But it's just really hard to kind of capture that. That's another it's another really good point to kind of bring to use, because people are actually able to see that texture, and when they feel drawn to an artwork, like to be able to see that extra detail in there, then it kind of gives it a whole different meaning.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I find when you're voting online, just from when the photos are taken, some artworks might look better on the photo, they might look worse on the photo, and so having that option to see them all lined up in person really does help when it comes to the voting process. Again, there is no specific criteria. It's really just what catches the audience's fancy, what they feel they resonate towards, and those artworks with the highest votes get chosen to be the finalists, and then we have the final round coming up.
So I'm actually at the art battle. The art battle's upstairs. I'm downstairs, so the noise level goes down. But I'm thinking, while I've got a little bit of time, I might pop up there and see if I can see details within these paintings that we can't see on camera, and see if there is texture within them, and then I can tell you guys about what it actually looks like in real life.
Yeah, sure, of course. And
so I might pop up there and see what's happening. If it does get a bit loud, I might use the microphone and stay quiet for a little bit.
Yep.
So I want to leave you a bit nice. Let's see, here we go.
So far we just have the team cleaning up the stations and preparing the areas again. So each of the artists, when they are painting, they have a little cup of water, and they have option of a palette and some paints that are provided by Art Battle. However, those materials are quite limited. As you can see, you have the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue, plus black and white. So if you know your basic color theory, you can really make any color you want. However, as we've seen during the evening, that some of the artists chose to bring their own tools to do their paintings. And I find that actually quite useful at times where you don't want to be able to think about using new materials. If you have a specific type of paint that you always use and you're quite comfortable with it, you don't have to worry about experimenting and seeing that colors look different in real life than they did in the bottle. Something that I personally find good to think about when you're competing is if you have 1 cup of water, you don't really want to start off with your dark colors all the time, because if your cup of water gets really dirty, you don't really have another cup to work from. You use it all up. So that's why a lot of the strategizing also goes into choosing your materials and how you actually decide to paint.
So just being up, it's kind of looking at artwork. And like I was saying, you can't tell on camera that so we're looking at the artworks right now. They also pretty flat. Like this one, there's very, very minimal texture.
Yeah.
And then the one wash brain with the marker is obviously you can kind of assume that that's flat.
Yeah.
Then with space water, there's actually all those little dotty details that actually stand out from the canvas. So that's something that you can't see, but they actually stick out.
Yeah.
So that's
the elements
detail that you can't see. And these ones are all kind of very basic texture as well.
I feel as though
And
that
then the
monochrome one looks quite in the dark. You're not seeing as much detail, but before, when it was on the canvas on the stage, you could actually see some of that white popping up as if they're little people.
So the bird at the end as well, I forgot the artist's name. That's actually got a lot of texture sticking out. Yeah, on the Keaters, yeah. So on the feathers and everything like that, there's a lot of texture on the canvas. You can kind of tell on the background that there would be texture in that, in the strokes on the back, but you can't really see that those feathers are actually textured as well.
Yeah. I feel as the mush brain one might be really nice as kind of like a t-shirt design. It seems as though they have like a really good graphic design kind of mind.
Yeah, kind of like that Mambo, old school Mambo kind of style, which nobody really does anymore, but it's in such demand. So many people really love that creativity that's involved in that art.
Definitely. And so here we see we've got 4 canvases. So we have 2 artists from round 1 and 2 artists from round 2 that will compete for the finals. So why don't you share your experience, Oslam, when you were chosen for the finals? Because as you were saying, you have that first initial burst of energy when you're doing the first round, but having to then come back and do it all over again to compete in the final round, feeling as though you have to really invigorate yourself.
Yeah, the first round I kind of thought, yep, okay, I've got this, and then wanted to create something that I thought nobody else would have, but I also wanted it to have like my texture style in there and keep it to what I do. And with me, I'm kind of like I'm an all-over, so I don't have a certain style. I kind of do everything and anything, and I'm a bit of a crafty person as well. So that's why I thought that a lot of the artists would be able to adjust, because I could see how crafty they were and things that they did. So I switched between oil and acrylic and using different mediums and styles, and go from abstract stuff to detailed things. So I'm kind of all over the place. So I wanted to put something that still kind of reflects me,
Yeah.
but that nobody else was kind of going to do. That was kind of my strategy. That if I'm different, I might get into the final round.
Yeah.
And it worked. So the second
Right.
time, the final round when I got called to the final, I went, oh my god, can I do it again? Am I ready to do this again? And I actually kind of just went straight into it. Like I did not have a second to think. It was just straight away like, okay, you ready? Getting your planes ready? All right, let's go.
Yeah.
It just seemed to go a lot faster the second time around. When you kind of think that it would be more comfortable doing it the second time because you've already done it, but it's actually a lot. Time goes a lot faster,
Yeah.
and you just assume you have that time, and you're like, "Yep, I've already done this. I'm comfortable." But then you get into this kind of comfortable thing where you're like, "Oh, okay, I've got it," but then you're like, "No, I don't got it." Like it's actually kind of the second time around. So
Well,
if
I
you
feel as
didn't
though for
have,
the first round you have a long time to prepare, but for the second round
yeah,
they say your name on the spot, and suddenly you have to come up front like instantly.
yeah. So just jump up there. And I feel like if you're not prepared for the second one, if you don't know what you're going to do for the second one, because you have such a limited amount of time to get yourself ready and get yourself in that headspace, it could stuff you up a lot. It could throw
Yeah.
you off. So you kind of have to know what you're doing, what you're. You kind of have to be prepared that you're going to win,
Yeah,
no matter
definitely.
what.
Oh, so it looks as though they're getting ready to call out the finalist names now.
Here in my hand. Do you want to know who they are? Where they are, all right. Artists to the stage,
Yeah, so let's
please
see who we've
start
got.
mixing your paints for round 3. We have drum roll, feet roll, step those feet. We have clap bunny!
So we have Class
So who was
Bunny.
the last one? Yeah, well deserved.
I missed that one.
Was it Nikita?
Nikita.
Welcome to round 3. We'll give you 10 minutes to start mixing your paints. We're going to assign you now.
I guess we had kind of have to wait and see who steps up to the canvas because I missed the last two.
I missed the last one. The volume of on site is a little bit low, so I couldn't hear the last two. But we got Class Bunny and we got Nikita. Oh, Renat.
So this is how quick it
Yeah,
is.
there
You've
we
just
go.
got to ready, prepare your canvas, let's go.
Exactly. As soon as you hear your name, suddenly step up. Oh, it looks like Mush Brain. Is it?
It might be on the other side, yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. What I
So
did,
even
even though, huh?
so even the voting's closed, the bidding is still open for the artwork.
When I was competing, even though I didn't get into the finals, I did I had two artworks prepared so that if I did get
Yeah.
into the finals, I knew what to do. So in that way, I found you could sort of be prepared. Whereas if you only prepare for one artwork, you might find yourself overwhelmed.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot more pressure if you get into the second one, into the final. It's definitely a lot more pressure when it's like, okay, you're on.
Because here we can see Nikita's preparing her paint, and so if you know what you want to do, you're more likely to know how much paint to put out.
That was one thing that I thought about the first time before the art battle, before I even got here, was I need to make sure I have enough paint on this palette so I don't run out. That was one of my main things. That was like one of my number one rules by camp was like make sure you have enough paint.
Yeah. Well, for me, I had to top up a few times, and just like unscrewing the paint cap, squeezing it on, just took up like precious time that you really don't want to do. You want to make sure your paint's already out if you can. And what I was saying before was that you have like your little you have your little water jar prepared for you. But if your water gets dirty, I think there's no way for you to change your water cup. So
Yeah,
sometimes
that
just like
was
having to adapt.
that was kind of my thing because I was using my hands and that was kind of like, okay, let's put our hands in this and clean it up the next part. So my water was really bad.
Mm. Here we can see Classy Bunny or Class Bunny has some toilet paper, and that actually can help as well. Because if you need to clean up your brushes, you just want to use cloth or some tissue to help you out there. It looks as though we have some markers here.
It looks like she's got a lot more colours this time around. I wonder if she's going to use more colour.
Yeah. Because I feel as though when you're in the finals as well, sometimes you feel a bit of pressure, like you really got to step up your game. So it looks as though
Yeah,
Wishbone is having a think.
you kind of have to think about, you have to create something that's better than the one that you just created.
Even though the way you just created was probably like your best like 20 minutes ago or something. It's really like puts a lot of pressure to step up the game.
Yeah. So you've just got to be like, okay, this one just has to be a little bit more better than the one I just did.
That's it.
We should only have a few more minutes, maybe a couple minutes left now before it starts.
Yep. So we're just giving the artists that little bit of prep time where they're putting out their paint. Looks as though Mushbrain was spending their time just thinking, honestly. Because you may not see that, this quite intense, fast, competition. But really, when it comes to art, a lot of time goes into thinking. That's how you have the works just coming out, being so original and so strong, is that you actually have to put a lot of time to think. So the time pressure is quite unique.
It looks like Nikita is keeping her from the previous one. I think she's got her previous palette next to her, and she's got the same colours on the new one that she's recreated as well.
Hmm.
So I see a lot more colour coming out.
For Nikita, yeah, maybe she has two references and is using a similar palette, because that could be a clever use of keeping your palette limited so you don't go too far free, but having something new and original. And it looks as though here Renat's just getting his pencils sharpened and prepared. Again, that it takes a bit of time. If your pencil breaks, and you've got to sharpen it up. So good that he's getting it prepared ahead of time.
I think they've still got the plastic on their canvases. That's something that you definitely cannot forget, is to rip off the plastic.
Yeah, that's it.
So I think Nikita's still got her one on. And I think this one's still got it on as well. So it's something that takes time. So Nikita's realised she's got the plastic on there.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it looks as though Renat as well also has his plastic on.
Alright, we have the 4 finalists up here. These are the 4 artists that you have voted to go into the final round. We're going to get kick things off soon here.
Looks as though Luke is starting his announcements. Let's go.
And $250 in
This is the part when you realise, okay, I need to be ready.
This is everyone watching online at home right
I feel as though I'm more nervous than Renat, the fact that he hasn't taken the plastic off his canvas yet.
Yep, there's the prize money.
There you go, prize money, 250, flashing it.
Okay, artists, are you ready? Do you need some more time? We have time.
Who's it going to go to?
You alright? Ready? Want some water?
Better get the timer ready. We have 20 minutes again ready for the final round.
He's still got the plastic. I hope he takes that off before it eats into his time.
Yeah. It seems like such a small, small detail, but
Yeah.
really you want your time.
Yes, and sometimes taking that plastic off that canvas it can be a struggle.
Yeah, I feel as though when you're nervous, just normal, ordinary things escape your brain. Like,
Yeah.
again, like, if you're used to it, you gotta stab the plastic to take it off. But, if your hands are shaking because you're nervous, something that, as an audience member, you might not realize is like, you've got to
Well,
use
he's
your
got,
hands to paint, but if they're shaking, you really got to steady yourself. So,
yeah,
there we go. Looks as though they were
yeah,
nice to him. They gave him a warning.
yeah. I think let's just point it out like that. You might want to do that first. So many people tonight. It's so great. It just seems to be growing and growing every single month.
I feel as though like it's a great initiative. It's getting people like really involved in the arts community. And the Art House Hotel is actually known for arty activities like live drawing. So looks as though they have a really good crowd.
It's actually really good venue as well. Like it's classy. You've got places to eat downstairs, and then you've got the upstairs bar. It's actually a really nice place to actually hold an event like this and hang out.
Yeah, and if you're in Sydney, it's right by Town Hall, so quite easy to reach if you take the train. So if you're Aussie, like when you're in Sydney, try and get involved. But also, I believe they're trying to get more events on the Eastern Coast as well in different cities. So if you're living in a different city, keep an eye open. You might find one close by.
That's the trouble with his heartbeat, which I'm sure a lot of artists are feeling right now.
That's it. Here we got the
Here we
timer,
go.
20 minutes. Oh,
Have we lost?
did we lose connection right as they're starting? That's just mean.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. 2, 1.
One.
Here we go. Right. And so we're starting off the finish line. So though Renat's got a reference he's using on his phone. And he's starting off with a small brush, but he's getting, from the looks of it, the shape of a person, a figure. So he's blocking in some color.
So he's getting a figure down. He's getting the figure down pretty fast, actually.
Again, when painting anatomy, sometimes it's quite hard. You really need to add some of those composition lines to get the shape right. So the fact he's just going in for it is quite skillful.
Yeah, that's what I did in the last battle. I painted a female figure, and when I was doing it, it was making so much sense. And then I got to a point where I was filling it in, and I stepped back, and I went, "Okay, this doesn't look right." But it's the angle that you're at as well, because when I'm painting in my studio, I'm usually sitting, and the canvas is up underneath me. But I have that ability to be able to move back and move forward as I'm doing it. But standing here, because you're leaning over a table as well, it's just really hard to kind of see exactly what you're doing, and you don't have that time to step back and look at it. So once you get a figure wrong, then you need to correct that.
Yeah. So we have Nikita, and she's just splotching in the colors for a sunset. She's using a tissue, she's using her hand, so she's really understanding the time constraints and just going in for just blocking in the colors.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
she's
I get
working
what you mean
with
by
it is.
the angle of the easel makes such a difference. Even the height, if you're a tall person, you're going to see it differently to a short person because
Yeah.
the easel's actually on a platform. So it really changes how you look at it from the angle.
Yeah, so it makes it really difficult when you're trying to, especially this one, when you're trying to draw faces and it's not at your height. It just makes it really difficult to be able to see exactly the proportion that you're drawing it.
Yeah. So you have Mush Brain again, using the marker pen to draw in some lines. But yeah, exactly. You can see the precision that they need, like to get the angle right, hold the pen. And what you might not even notice is like the paint is wet, including the paint marker. So you also have to watch out that you don't have your hand smearing right through the paint and making the lines messy. So precision is really an important point when getting these smooth, crisp lines.
Marker as well because a lot of people don't realize that when you're using a marker on an angle, they do stop.
Mm.
And then you've got to get them going again. So there's that interruption in between as well when you're fully focused and you know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you've got to stop and get your marker working again.
Yeah, that's it. So here we have Classy Bunny, and it looks as though we've kind of got the silhouette of a person painted and blocked in that pink paint. And now
so she's actually showing different styles. So she's taking the opportunity the second time to show a different style that she has.
And again, Classy Bunny was the one we spoke about having that mixed media, such a diverse collection of subjects and mediums. So it's going to be interesting what the final outcome is going to be. Here we go, prize money.
There's a case of USA. We forgot to mention that from Young Henry's.
What is this? Is this a case of beer?
It's a case of beer from Young Henry's.
There we go.
Which we didn't happen in the first round, so we've got to come back and do it again and see if we can get this one.
So we can get up here. So it looks as though Renat's added more figures in here.
That's amazing to be able to get down that many figures and the precise proportions in that small amount of time.
And here he is, he's drying the paint again using his hairdryer. I gotta say, like, when it comes to readability, he does such an excellent job. You can tell the character's silhouettes, you know, where the arms are and the legs, the arch on the back. So quite clever getting that in only like a single color.
It's an art in itself to be able to give to the audience what that figure's face would be in that position. So it's really hard to place those figures in a position where someone can just look at it and just know how that person would be looking back at them.
Yeah, exactly. And even Renat's portfolio is quite diverse as well. Like, seems as though he does some digital art as well as traditional pencil mediums as well. So we've got quite a diverse collection of artists. And here Nikita's like done such an amazing job. We're like 5 minutes in and her canvas is already filled up. So it just shows.
So she's sticking to the same colors of what she used before. But it's something completely different.
Yeah, that's it. And it just shows, you know, when she spent that first lot of time just smearing the colors on the canvas, really helped save some time.
I really feel like when you kind of get into the second round, you kind of forget about this prize money and everything that comes with it. And you kind of just you feel kind of privileged to be able to show everyone another style, another artwork that you can create, and it gives you another opportunity for people to know you more as an artist the second time around as well.
Yeah.
So especially for class money, like for her, I think for her she would be loving it right now because she's able to show everyone another style, like people that haven't seen her profiles, that haven't seen her previous work, to be able to see a whole different style from her in the same
Yeah.
night.
Definitely, I can relate to that. The idea, when I didn't get through the finals, it wasn't just because I didn't, win the prize money or anything like that. It's just not having the chance to paint a second time to show
Yeah.
everyone what you have. So being able to make it to the finals has this, a reward in itself. Just getting to really prove and display,
That was like,
more your skills more.
yeah, the last time when I didn't make it into the next round, I was kind of heartbroken because I was like, I really wanted to just do another piece. If it wasn't like one or not, I just wanted to be like, I just want to do another one.
That's it. So here we have Classy Bunny, and it looks as though she's adding almost like a decorative tattoo design, so like floral patterns.
Sometimes adding those details brings out the personality of the portrait that you're painting. So those little things, those little details on the body kind of bring out a different personality to that portrait.
But I think you mentioned it before about tattoos. It's like an incredibly, difficult thing to just paint a person, a portrait, but then adding another dimension of painting artwork on top of artwork. It's a whole other skill.
Especially when you're doing tattoos, like tattoos are a whole another art skill. So to be able to bring both those skills into something is it's incredible.
So here we have Renat. And it looks as though he added the peach color as that base flesh tone, and now he's just going in with his pencil, whether it's charcoal, I'm not quite sure, and adding those details, dimensions to the body. So really he's focusing on the human figure for this.
I really like how he adds these little extra details and kind of changes the whole thing. If you were to look at that figure that he just did, the one that he's working on now, if that was to be just a single figure on that whole canvas, it would give it a whole different feel to it. But then he's got all these other figures, and it kind of gives this more into the painting.
Yeah, it's sort of like a pop art kind of design with different human figures. Gives it a different dimension. So here we are with Nikita, and she's got her landscape painting, and she's actually unique in that she's flipped her canvas over to the side.
I reckon every single figure just so he can get them perfect.
We're about halfway now. Our time.
Nikita looks like she's done. She's got those little tiny details. She's got extra time to be able to work in those little things.
She doesn't have to rush as much.
Yeah, that's the good thing. Once you have everything down, then you can work on your small details, and it doesn't matter if you get the whole thing down, you've still got your whole image on there already.
Exactly, I agree. Like, the painting, you could say, is done, but adding those final details is just adding, icing to the cake. Whereas if you start with a small brush, that's when you're destined to be panicking at the end.
Yeah.
So here we have Mush Brain again.
Not too many characters in this. A little bit more bigger, more detailed.
Yep.
more focus on a couple of characters instead of a whole bunch of them, which I think kind of works as an advantage for her because she gets to put down all those smaller lines and details when it comes to 2 characters as opposed to like 20 of them, and trying to fit in all those details in that small amount of time. She can actually have time to finish all that with just a couple of characters.
Yeah,
So she's able to
definitely.
display her skills a bit more.
And as you were saying before, you know, your marker pen actually dries up, so you have to take some time to shake the pen up again and activate it. And it takes a certain amount of skill because the paint can accidentally come out too much. So really being able to control the flow of the ink is
Yeah,
quite
that's
important.
another thing that you need to worry about with things like that. If you do end up with a big splodge, what do? Do you incorporate it into your painting? Do you completely change your artwork to work around it?
Yeah, exactly. And so it seems as though Wishbrain just has like such experience to know that, you know, precision and control helps not get those messy paint blobs. And so here we are with Class Bunny again, and from the looks of it, they got like the background all put in, similar to the last painting where we've got that dark green with hints of yellow, and so that
She
the
seems to
figure
be
stands
really
out.
fast at getting her background down as well.
And so that way she's spending the remaining time just adding these details with the tattooing. So we have about 7 minutes. All of the artists seem really focused. Here we go, prize money again. More motivation. Yeah.
Just smell it. But this is what happens with some artists because they're so used to being on a flat surface or on a table or something like that, especially when they're sketch artists. They take the canvas off the easel and they either use the floor or they use the platform or anywhere that they feel comfortable.
Yeah. And that's it, even the size. Because if you're used to drawing on a desk or something, you might have a smaller canvas or a smaller sheet of paper just because that's what you're used to. So having like a large easel in canvas, so the canvas is about 50 by 40 centimeters in dimension, it's a whole different thing to get used to.
I absolutely love the thing I figure out. I love how he's able to put, like, you're able to see so much with so little.
Definitely such a skill with anatomy, being able to know which lines to put in to accentuate.
Nikita's added her highlights and the shadows. It looks completely different to the last time we just saw it a few minutes ago.
The developing of that textured wall. So it definitely shows as well, like the evolution. We've got 5
As
minutes
you
left.
people, if we do have anyone that's listening that is an artist, someone that wants to try their hand at painting and things like that, watching people like this, like you can see that spending time and adding those little details actually make your artwork very different to what you could have started out with. So if you do start out with an artwork and you have an image and you just can't find that it's the way that you wanted it to look, it's all those little things that you need to take notice of and spend time on to actually get the image out of your head and onto the canvas. So this is a really good if anyone is looking at starting an artist career, or if they just want to try their hand at art, it's a really good opportunity to be able to kind of learn from these people that have their own style.
Definitely. That being said, if you want to, have a career in art, you don't have to be able to paint this fast.
No, definitely not.
When you have your own practice, you can decide how much time you want to paint. If you're someone with a small attention span, you might prefer to paint fast. Whereas if you really want to work and develop your artwork and work on little details, some people, they spend months working on one art. So don't feel discouraged that everyone here is super fast. It's just how the competition works. But if you want to try it at your own, go at your own pace. So here, Mushbrain is adding, just like before, a little colored detail to their artworks, and this time using metallic golds, really making certain elements really pop and stand out against the black and white.
These highlights that Kirsten is using is changing her portrait a lot. It's gone from that flat figure to now having this shape and sticking out.
Some dimension as well.
So I feel like she's done as well. She's just making sure she has all her shadows and her highlights in there.
Well, we've got 2 minutes left, so really this is the final time to be adding those little details.
So even to me, just as watching, I feel like that time went a lot faster than the first round.
Well, I feel as though just as as bystanders, we're feeling the pressure with the artists as the time goes past, just seeing them go and
yeah. I did hear a few people behind me when I was painting saying like, "Oh my god, what has she done?" Because as soon as I sketched it, they're like, "What is that?" And then they feel worried for you, like they want you to be able to finish.
Yeah. Because not all the time they can see your vision, but sometimes not even you can see your vision. It might be that you made a mistake and you've got to clean it up or something like that. A lot of it's just fast thinking.
Yeah, and sometimes like when you have the reference photo and the audience can see it and they're like, okay, I know what direction you're going in, so they can wait for you to catch up to your reference photo. But when you don't have a reference photo, like I had one but I didn't use it, so everyone was kind of just like, what is that figure? What is that shape? What is it going to be?
Yeah.
And they were just kind of waiting for me to fill in all those little spaces. And they kind of feel the pressure for you as well.
Yeah. What I found as well was I was actually dancing with the music as I was painting because it seemed to give me a good cadence to keep up with the timing. And I noticed a few of the artists were kind of grooving with the music. So.
Oh, we're ending.
Oh, we're getting close. We got 2, 1. There we go. We've reached the end. Paintbrush is down.
This is it. There'll be a few minutes until they count all the votes. The votings will be still open for a little bit longer.
Yep. So just like before, the audience gets to vote.
And we will announce the winner very, very shortly. Stick around. DJ Blues, Louis Blues.
So all these go up on, if you've got the app, then all these paintings go up onto the app. So you just, you can click on the painting, it will come up with the artist and then you can vote. And it also gives you the ability to bid on these paintings as well through the app. So it takes a couple of seconds to register and then you're live and able to vote and bid and own one and take one home. I was lucky enough to have 2 of my paintings being taken home. So I was super happy that someone walked off with it, and I felt like chasing them and saying, "Can I?" You just feel it's like a whole other feeling. You're like, oh, someone actually wants it. They actually really like it.
Yeah, it's quite exciting to have like real-time sales and interactions with people.
Especially when you have people that are willing to walk off like painting. Then you know that they really like it if you're willing to walk down with them painting.
So right now we've got the Art Battle team taking photos to put it on the app. just like before, the audience gets to go around and see the final artworks, and they'll have a little bit of time to vote and to bid for the final winner is announced.
So Nikita's
see,
one when
like,
you when
tiny
the
details.
you can actually see that there's texture in the painting on the hills.
Some splatter marks in the grass as if they're like little flowers or something. And Renat's artwork's looking almost kind of like some magazine designs in ways.
Yeah,
Quite
like
sophisticated.
figures. Fashion figures without the clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Fashion figures without the clothing. But you know, quite elegant in that there wasn't that much paint really. It was just one color. But the detail was refined using pencil.
Big crowds, so see if they can get around to clasp on these paintings.
Yes, that's it. Because the camera lens is quite wide, it makes it look as though the space is bigger than it is, but really it's quite packed, it's very tiny. The walls are lined with booth seating, so you can't really move the chairs around, and so when the crowd is so big, it's very slow whirlpool to go around and see all the final.
The first round, they've actually moved everything around, so there's a lot more space up there than there was completing. The completing was very, very tight. So now, yeah, they've opened it up, so there is a lot more room to move around. That's how there's so much crowd, but it is still like I think with this amount of people, it would feel exactly how we felt because there's so many people. I don't think we had this many people in the first round. We kind of had like half this crowd, I think. So it's good that it's actually picking up and people are coming in.
Yeah. Well, it was packed when we did our round together, but now it makes sense if they opened up the seating.
Yeah, and I think that when we did it, we had the double platform. So now it's just one platform going down, so that gives a lot of room. So that they have given a lot of support for people to be able to go around and give artists that space as well. As you can see, like there was such a good crowd tonight that you can't even tell that there's that much space in there.
And like I'm just noticing now as Nikita's packing up, she was using the tablecloth as her palette as well. So that small little palette that they provide us wasn't enough for her. So she just started using the tablecloth to paint with.
Yeah, I actually, I think I grabbed a couple of people's palettes when I was painting as well. So there was a few that were being used, so I snatched them really quickly so I could get all my paint down.
Yeah, I had my own palette that I brought with me and the one they provided, because it's a decent sized palette if you're working on something smaller, but considering the size of the artwork, it's really not enough, and especially depending on the colors you need, you might need more space, and in normal circumstances you could just go to the sink and wash out your palette, but because of the high pressure, you just have to use what you have in the moment.
Yeah, that's right. These figures are amazing, just with such little equipment and materials to be able to create that. You can almost make out exactly what they look like their faces. You can just finish off that detail just by looking at it.
And it just shows his skill as an anatomy artist, because he didn't have an eraser to undo anything. He just went straight into it and knew the placement of the parts of the body. And here we have Nikita's artwork again.
And we've got that gold. So she's got 62 colours still. so she would have used a lot more.
Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, and she's. Oh, I said that she just. I think we cut out. I just said she stuck to the two colors. I thought she would have used a lot more.
Yeah, she did have her whole packet of colors, but in a way, self-curating can sometimes be a good thing to know when enough is enough.
Then we've got class bunnies.
We are going to announce the winner right now. Are you ready for the winner?
Sounds like Luke is going to announce the winner now.
Are you ready for the winner?
All right.
That's the energy we want. All right.
Who do you think's going to win? Now that the votings are closed, let's see.
Come to the stage here so that we can.
Which one do you like the most? Which one would you vote for? Since voting is closed and we can't influence people.
Yep. Sure, like, it's hard to say when all the styles are so different. I like
All right.
in
The winner
because
of
of
tonight's art battle
his
Here we go.
anatomy knowledge.
Let's see who the winner is.
Suspense.
All of them have their own techniques.
Class Bunny!
Yes, class bunny.
Class Buddy,
I think she really showed her style tonight. So I think people really, it was an advantage for her to be able to paint two different styles.
well, I feel as though like there's two
Congratulations,
different versions of her own style, as opposed
Yeah.
to something that was completely different. So she was quite loyal to her own style. So nice, congratulations.
Until you guys hang around, I think. Yeah.
Congratulations to class bunny.
Why not? Let's enjoy.
Too bad, like,
Still looking for a little bit more. So if you do want to own it, make sure you get in there and you place your bid ASAP.
yes, she did. It looks as though she's a bit shocked here. She's surprised but quite happy.
Yes.
Here we go. Friends and family hyping her up.
Celebration
That's good.
bags.
But honestly, all like four of them did such an amazing job. Again, just to get to the end in just that small 20-minute limit is fantastic.
Yeah. Be able to put that much detail each one of them.
And it seems as though Class Bunny really kind of embraced the medium of acrylic paint. You know, you can see like the streaks of the paint, the way the colors are interacting with each other. I think Nikita was quite smart when it came to like being able to plan out her painting, so she wasn't rushing at the end. And even like Mushbrain did such a nice job of just like sticking to her style as well consistently. So really like a strong set of artists.
Yes, they're all able to get through their styles and show everyone what they can do. And everyone just keep in mind, like all these artists, majority of them do commission work as well. So if you do like someone's style, go through the art battle, look at the artist, look at the previous artist, and if there's anything, if there's a style that you like, then you can always reach out to that artist and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to create something with you and for you, something personalized that you can have in your home as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you go to the Art Battle website or even the Instagram page, you'll be able to see art battle near you as well.
So I think we say thank you for joining us. And thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening to us for the last couple of hours. And we really hope you enjoyed watching these creations come to life and being a part of this.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks a lot for joining along, and supporting all the artists here tonight and listening to us give out commentary. It's such a pleasure to spend the night with you, Oslam, and be able to share our thoughts on our own competitions, and as well just enlighten the viewers on how the artists tonight might have potentially been feeling, the techniques they've been implementing. It really shows a different side to the competition. Just as a shout out as well, this is Rocket Child, and I also competed in Art Battle. So if you're interested, you could also find my own profile on their page, and Oslam as well, who has been a winner for the Art Battle event. So reach out to us as well if you're
Yeah,
interested.
anytime. We're on Instagram socials. If you go to Art Battle, you can find us through there as well. So even reach out to us, follow us, ask us questions, whatever you want. I'm sure Rocket Child is as much as I am. We're willing to answer questions. And if you are an inspiring artist, and you want anything, any tips about how we work to try and build our own art careers, I guess, reach out, and we're willing to share with you and share ideas and things like that and support each other.
And that's it. Like, artists should be here to, connect and support each other, and help each other grow. So yeah, reach out.